Hello. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you're joining us from the world. Welcome to this very, very special Women's History Roundtable. My name is Anna Viner, and I've created IAmRemarkable 10 years ago at Google. And today I'm the president of the board of Remarkability, the nonprofit that I founded after leaving Google 3.5 years ago and taking IAmRemarkable to become an independent movement as part of Remarkability. IAmRemarkable, I love to tell you, I always say it's my first baby. I have three other besides that, and it has been my firstborn child for over 10 years. For those of you who don't know, IAmRemarkable is a global initiative that empowers everyone to celebrate their achievements. It helps individuals overcome self-doubt, break barriers, and unlock their full potential. To date, we have reached over 800,000 people, and that's a lot, from over 120 countries with the help of over 20,000 facilitators throughout the years. Today, we have over 4,000 active facilitators. And this year, we're on the road to 1 million. So we're going to double down and we're aiming to reach 200,000 people this year. And we're counting on you to help achieve that for facilitators and company champions and anyone who's listening. Now is your opportunity to either join a workshop or train as a facilitator or bring IAmRemarkable to your company. So the theme for this International Women's Day is Give to Gain. And IAmRemarkable is all about that. And we're delighted to be joined here by four remarkable women who are using their platforms to help create space and opportunity for other women. So before I introduce our panelists, I'd like to just make you aware that we will have a Q&A section at the end of this call. So make sure that you pop your questions in the chat and we'll get to them right at the end. And we really would love to hear your thoughts now in the chat. What does Give to Gain mean to you? Let's hear it. And now I'm delighted to introduce our panelists for today. So, drum roll. I think we don't have this effect, but imagine you're hearing a drum roll. First of all, I would like to introduce Pritha Dutt from India. She's the chairperson of the Center of Gender Equality and Inclusive Leadership, XLRI, and founder of Mera BizNet, who is driving grassroots equality and systemic change and supporting women-owned enterprises. Welcome, Pritha.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jordana Cole from the US. So we're here at a very global call, and I hope you're all excited by that, because that is definitely one of the things that we love to do with IAmRemarkable, and that's join voices from all across the world. So Jordana is a global leadership coach and consultant and lifelong improviser. So we would love to hear about that at the end of this call. Her 2025 TEDx talk, What to Do When You Don't Know What's Next, ranks in the top 10% of views for all TEDx talks, which is incredible, and we'll make sure to pop a link there so you can watch it afterwards. Next up, we have Brooke Jarvis from the UK. Brooke is UK Policing's HeForShe program manager, working with UN Women and all police forces across the UK towards ambitious commitments for gender equality. Welcome, Brooke. And last but not least, we have Clara Montes joining us from Spain. Clara is a DEI consultant and founder of TEDxBarcelona Women. She's named one of Spain's 50 most influential millennial women by Cosmopolitan magazine. Welcome, remarkable women from all over the world. I'm very, very excited to have you here. We've been waiting all March to have our roundtable. And we on purpose actually didn't do it around the specific actual day. Hi, Ali. So I wanted to do a quick lightning speed round. So before we deep dive into a deeper discussion, I want to turn up the energy to the Give to Gain lightning round. So I'm going to ask each one of you a question that is related to your background, and you're going to get 60 seconds to answer. So we're really doing it as a quick, fun question and answer round. So Pritha, I'm going to start with you. Are you ready? Okay. What is the one hidden achievement women in the communities you serve often overlook but should be celebrating today?
Awesome. So I would say without any doubt, it is resilience. I mean, these women that I work with earn sometimes less than $5 a day, but whatever life throws at them, no job, no earning member, health issue, son not getting, in school, college, they take it with fortitude and a positive attitude. So I will say resilience is what is the first biggest that I find with these women. I'll say resilience.
Love it. Love it. I think it's one of the most important attributes to thrive in today's world, I have to say, because life is going to throw challenges at you and you need to just keep it up. So thank you, Pritha. Jordana, I'm coming up next to you. In the spirit of give to gain, what is one old habit or belief you had to give up to gain the success that you have today?
Yeah, thanks, Anna. So it's be X, do X. And in that vein, it's about trying to be successful based on somebody else's model. For years, you see how curly this hair is? For years, I actually straightened it every day for an hour because in an organization I was in, I thought that was the look that you needed to have in order to get ahead. And that was draining because what I realized is those people are them. They're not me. And my currency, my asset, and everybody's in this chat, in this world, is who they are. There is nobody like you. We are one of one. And when I started trying to identify what made me unique, leaning on my strengths, my skills, my expertise, my traits, that unique blend, that's suddenly when success shot to the roof. Stop being somebody else and stop really being me. And that can be hard because we take who we are for granted. It's so natural. And yet other people sometimes see things in us that we don't see in ourselves. So I went out to my network, asked them to show me what I don't see, thought about what, brings me energy in life. And the more I brought out my authentic self, the more success followed.
Amazing. Amazing. And IAmRemarkable actually helps you to do that, to really find out what is the, shining star of you. So if you haven't attended a workshop, our listeners, make sure that you do, because it's really going to help you find out who you really are and what makes you shine. Thank you very much. Brooke, you're up next. When a leader truly gives space to a woman in a high-stakes environment like policing, what is the most immediate gain for the team?
So from a policing perspective, from any perspective really, but from a policing perspective, the quickest win would be better, faster thinking. When you bring more women to that team, you have a diversity of thought instantly. As well as that, we have a community to serve that has lots of people in it, and being representative is so important. But key to that is actually what Jordana's just said, and authenticity. So authentically bringing those women into the room, and we rely heavily on allyship within policing because we are very male-led still. And actually bring those women genuinely hearing their ideas, genuinely listening and giving that platform rather than any tokenistic approach, which actually for us and for our communities is really, really damaging. I think we create a culture which is authentic, which means we then create a culture of better trust within our public service. We want to be closer to our communities. We constantly see it out in the media, and we're not quite there yet, clearly. But for us, it's really important to have that diversity of thought, to take those different lived experiences and apply them to our policing style to make sure that we are inclusive and representative, and hopefully that creates a sense of fairness and making sure people feel safer, because ultimately that's our job to do, to build those strong relationships so people feel safe and looked after, and that they can they are coming to police and being treated the way that they should expect to be.
Totally. Couldn't agree more. I think it's so true for policing. It is true for almost any job place that you might have. So any company, any organization, you want to make sure that you have that representation in your teams because your users, your customers, the citizens, whoever it might be that you serve, are diverse. So you need to make sure you have that diversity of thought and representation in your teams. Definitely, I always say if everyone in the room agrees, then you have a problem. So
Yeah.
that's definitely one tip I would say. All right, Clara, are you ready for your personal question? So, as a curator of voices for TEDx, what's the one piece of advice you'd give a woman who feels her story isn't remarkable enough for a stage yet?
Yeah, thanks, Anna. And I'm glad you rigged this one because it shows a common misunderstanding in the TEDx world, in the TED world in general, which is to think that the story is the most important thing. You know, stories are relevant and they help create TED Talks and TEDx Talks because they go around a concept or an idea word spreading that we call it, which is an idea that has to be specific, that has to be different, and that has to enable or inspire a better world, no? For people or for myself in general. Better if it's for everybody, no? Because it's more inclusive and more impactful. But the thing is not so much to find this story or to center it about your company or your book, which is actually not even permitted because it's, you know, to give a TED Talk is not about self-promotion, but to give light to this idea that can make the world a better place. So I would advise people to, instead of focusing so much energy and time on that story or finding it or creating it, focus it on finding that idea word spreading, which can be perfectly about something you're very passionate about or you're an expert on, and think about the story of something that builds that up. And remember that it doesn't have to be always a big story or a loud one. It can be something small, just seen in a different or a special light.
Wow. I love that. I love that answer. And quick shout out, like my dream for years has been to be on the TED stage. So let's see if you can help me make that work. Remarkable, and Jordana, well done on doing yours.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, everyone. This was our quick lightning round. I feel like I'm a show host. So that really sets the stage for us. And we've talked about quick wins and instincts of giving. But now I want to pull back the curtain on the actual journeys that brought you all here. So we all know history isn't just made of big speeches. It's made of the moment someone decided to share their power. Now, our round 2 of questions is all about those pivotal shifts. And I love to start with this. Can you share a time when someone gave you a platform, perhaps before you felt ready, that changed your career trajectory or opened up a door that you didn't even know existed? And this time, Clara, we're going to start with you. You ready?
Yes. Yeah, thank you. So I would say definitely that platform would be TEDx. I would not say precisely that it was given to me because nobody, knocked on my door and say, Clara, do you want to build this in your community? I would say more that I took it. And I also like to approach things more in that way. No, you take it or you create it, which is more from your creator mindset, no? But yeah, sometimes you are also given things, no, and opportunities. I think I was definitely not ready because I created TEDxBarcelona Women at 23. So I didn't know how to build or lead teams or, raise funds from corporates or talk to the media or coach thought leaders. I learned to do that, I built a plane while flying, that we call it, right? And that accelerated really my life, my career, taught me so much, and also introduced me to a whole world of, social impact, community engagement, gender equality, leadership development that later on I devoted all my career to, know. So yeah, I'm really grateful to that platform.
Incredible. And it's true, sometimes you just need to jump in the water and go with the flow. So remarkable that you did that at 23 years old, and it's amazing to see where it brought you. So well done. Brooke, we're going to continue with you. You're on mute.
Off mute, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
We can hear you.
When I first joined policing, I was a secretary and I was 19 years old. And I sat in lots and lots of meetings where lots of huge decisions were made. My boss at the time was high ranking. Obviously, policing, if you're an officer, is ranking led. And actually that does filter into staff roles as well that aren't officer roles. So as a secretary, I would take the minutes of the meetings. I was thrilled. This was a safe place for me to be, having not come from a policing family and come from quite a socially economically challenged background, I suppose, very different background to how you'd maybe imagine. I would sit in these meetings and occasionally I'd think, oh, I don't feel like that's the right place to spend your money. I think that, you know, if you get these people in to fix this problem here, actually, that might be a waste because maybe those young people won't resonate, or maybe those people from that background won't resonate. But I was a minute taker, so I didn't say it. High ranking organisation. And I came out and I said to a couple of the inspectors, one male and one female, you know what, I really don't think that's going to work. I understand where you're going. It's a great idea. It's really well intentioned, but actually I think it's a waste of money. I think if you're not representing the community that you're building. And that was it. And 2 weeks later, I went back in to take the minutes. And one of those inspectors said, oh, do you know what? Brooke's got a really good idea. Brooke's had an idea about where we're putting our money, and it's public money. And, you know, they didn't say that, but you have to be really accountable, don't you? And I had to say that idea out loud, which was terrifying. And I said it. And after that point, I found myself being put forward for new qualifications, for projects. I found myself being offered things, and all because someone had thrown me in at the deep end and said, actually, Brooke had an idea. And I really appreciated that. And I felt like it validated me and made me able to go, oh, actually, I was really happy with what I'm doing. But if there's an opportunity to learn some more, then, and so, yeah, I'm always super grateful to those people, particularly in those organizations where it is high ranking.
Amazing. I love it. Somebody just needs to give you a stage one time and can totally, it's like a revolving door, you know, somebody
100%.
opened the door for you and you walk through. I think that's also a really important part. 'Cause you can sometimes choose to not take it. But I really think when an opportunity presents itself, it's really up to us to take it, even if it's scary, even if you don't know what's on the other side. So well done and amazing. Thank you, Brooke. Jordana, we're going to continue with you.
Yeah, so I actually have two moments and two very specific people that I can credit for that happening. The first was I was a couple of years out of school, working in my first job, small nonprofit. I had worn a lot of hats, including at age like 23, managing 30 interns and then 6 full-time staff. Talk about being thrown into the deep end of leadership. And someone on our senior leadership team, her name's Amy, we were at our leadership summit with our students. It was a nonprofit for students across the country. And she said, you know, I see you leading our student national leadership council. And I just looked at her like she had two heads. What do I know about leadership? I'm 24. What can I'm 2 years away from these kids. How can I help them? And 2 of them actually sat on our board of directors. And she said, no, you've got what it takes. And I had an opportunity in that moment to take on something I felt I wasn't qualified for, ready for, but it inspired a lifelong just purpose in developing better leaders and seeing leadership even at young ages and being able to connect the dots between why my experiences could have been valuable to them. Now, fast forward, and I was a few years later leading a team in a tech company, realizing I was burnt out on my job and realizing that the threads that connected those 2 jobs and everything in between was all about making an impact and helping people be stronger in their careers, helping people be stronger in their personal leadership and in their professional leadership. And our chief people officer at the time, Kathy, I said to her, I want to do something different. I want to actually move into something in your organization and focus on leadership development with our global org, help create a strengths-based organization. And she took a chance on me. She said, you know, if you believe in us, we believe in you. Might not look exactly the way either of us think, but we'll make it work. And like to Clara's point, I had to kind of put it a little out there before I was ready, but her belief in me and willingness to give me an opportunity to really drive forward something for the organization and bring my full self to bear in a new role propelled my entire career since then. And both Amy and Kathy helped opened the door for me, but to your point, I stepped through it. And I think about them often and the work that I do and how I can continue to propel others forward like they did for me.
Incredible. Incredible. I have a follow-up question for you, but we're going to hear from Pritha first, and then I'm going to do a follow-up question for all of you.
So, you know what? Firstly, I think I have had several doors opened all my life. So I loved, Anna, what you said about revolving door. I mean, it's incredible the number of opportunities and doors and platforms. So I guess when you get one, and how do you kind of get in? But I must say the biggest one is something what Clara said, but in a different context. Clara was 23 when she got it. I did about 18 years of corporate experience in HR, India and globally. But I badly wanted to work for the disadvantaged and the economically and socially disadvantaged. However many people you have in a company, 10,000, 20,000, there are millions out in the country who need help. But nobody was giving me a job in the development sector. I did not understand how education works. I did not understand how water supply works. I did not understand how sanitation works. And this somebody I knew, she said, try this company. They are one of India's largest infrastructure firm. They're looking for somebody in the social infrastructure. But I said, I don't have any background. So I just applied. I got a call. I got the job. And we set out to do the first design for what is called resettlement, rehabilitation, and re-employment for people whose lands are getting taken away for large infrastructure projects. Think railways, think airports, think housing, where public government is taking away land. Now you need to talk to villagers whose lands are being taken away, but you have to do it in a manner that they understand that for that they need to find alternate sources of livelihood, of employment. They need to have a compensation. This was the first time being done in the country. I got that opportunity. I led that division. And thereafter, it was my entry into the development sector. From there on into understanding how gender works, how to get women's participation in the workforce, how to do all of that. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have. And along with it, because I didn't know, to me, the word community was really a community hall. I didn't know that you call this a community. I didn't know mobilization. And I must thank a gentleman, I must call him out, a guy called Ajay Sinha. In terms of how do you engage, how do you go into a village and how do you kind of talk to people there? And this, mind you, they may not understand your language. You don't understand their world. You don't know what troubles they are facing. How do you go and talk to them in a manner that they trust you and that you are willing to do things for them, whether it is on jobs or livelihood or employment or health or whatever? And he used a technique which I learned. So to me, it was the opening of a lifelong passion. 18 years after I quit my corporate sector in 2004. So yes, I'm incredibly grateful.
Incredible. So somebody was there for you. Can you think of one case that you've opened the door for someone else?
Yes. And I just met this person yesterday. This is much before, flexi timings, work from home, all of that became the norm. I mean, thanks to COVID. I mean, now it's like, okay. But many years back, and I was working in one of India's largest mobile phone companies. And this young girl walks up to me, and mind you, Clara, this is many years back. This is like when all of this was not even kind of known. So if you were pregnant, you took leave because that's part of social kind of act. But she did not want to take leave. She said, I can come to work. So she was allowed to work. I allowed her that opportunity to work. And then even after her leave got over, I allowed her flexi work timing till date. And her daughter is now 19 years old. Till date, she will thank me anywhere, everywhere publicly because that opportunity I got. So I got this thank just yesterday. Her name is Jyotika.
Nice. Very nice. And I think the fact that you were able to see her needs and adapt them to the needs of your team and your company, and to make it a win-win situation is forever grateful, because sometimes you get that computer says no with no real reason. So I think these are the moments where it's just person to person, and creating that environment that allows everyone to thrive. So
Correct.
incredible. Anyone else wants to share?
Yeah, I can share. I've had a couple of times, both in that organization. I was talking about where I was given that opportunity, and in other leadership positions since then, when I spent the majority of my career also in the corporate space. And one of the things that I often looked at is, just like myself, what are the strengths that the person brings? And and I'm hearing this story throughout for Brooke, for Pritha, for Clara, like, what do I have as strengths and skills that aren't defined by a role, aren't defined by a title, but if I were given the opportunity to use that more, it could open up such a world. And in one case, I had a woman on my team, Erica, and she and I are very close friends now. And our team was positioning more to a sales-oriented team. And we were splitting our team into sales reps or into more customer service reps. And as a leader of that team, I had a voice in who I thought should go where based on their skills and talents, in rooms that my team members weren't in places that they weren't able to advocate for themselves. They didn't even know this conversation was happening. Now, I needed to understand what the strengths of my team members were, what their interests were beyond what they did in the day-to-day, so that I could be a true advocate for them. And Erica was somebody who, in a room she wasn't in, I advocated for her to move into sales because I knew what she brought to the table. She and I had a little bit of a rumble at first because she wasn't sure that she could do it. And what's really interesting is, since that time, not only has she turned sales into her career, she has been a founder of the Sister in Sales program, which is an incredible organization. She now lives in Ghana, where she is propelling sales leadership and sales skills, particularly in the tech sector in Africa. And I played a small part in her story, but knowing that I could have been a voice for her in the room that she wasn't in, that I could spot a talent of hers and an opportunity, that now she has taken that and made it not only her career and life's purpose, but bringing that out in others. Like, I get chills just thinking about it still. And like, seeing her shine is the best thing I could ask for.
Incredible. Amazing. And well done. And I think one of the things we say in IAmRemarkable is you really need to make sure that the people around you, so your manager, your colleagues, your manager's manager, they really know what your achievements are, because those are the people who will then make the decisions about your promotion, about your next move, and you're not going to be in the room to advocate for yourself. So it's exactly as you were sharing. And this is where it's really critical that your manager and your manager's manager know who you are, what you're worth, what your strengths are, and what your objective achievements were. So really make sure to do that. Take that as homework to all of our listeners here, to go write down your 3 top achievements from the past 6 months, and in your next one-to-one with your manager, make sure that you go through them so your manager knows how to talk about your achievements when you're not in the room, because that's really important. Brooke, Clara, anybody of you wants to share, or we move on to the next question? All right. Just for our listeners here, just a quick reminder, we're going to have a Q&A section at the end of this call. So make sure that you pop your questions in the chat. We love audience questions. So make us sweat, as we say. Everyone here is very ready for your juicy questions. All righty. We're moving to our 3rd round of our show. And I actually love this question. So, as I shared with you, 2026 is our 10-year anniversary of IAmRemarkable. And we love things that are related now to the number 10. So, it's a question for those of you who would want to answer. So, you'd raise your hand. What is the most important lesson you've learned about the power of women supporting women that you didn't know a decade ago? We're going to go with Brooke and then Pritha and then Clara.
Hello, thank you. So for me, what's really, I've been thinking just in general, and 10 years ago, I'd have thought that confidence was down to the individual. A lack of confidence is down to the individual, be it myself, be it somebody else. And I think what I've really learned, partly through IAmRemarkable, partly through my journey, is, and my journey's been a lot through policing, a lot more working with private sector in the last few years, but that when women are supporting women, it's exponential, isn't it? And we start to really, I think when we're openly and unapologetically doing it, then we're giving each other that strength to build bigger networks. And what I've really seen happen through policing in my time is that it's like a ripple, and suddenly women are building menopause group networks, they're building action groups around various other health issues. We've got maternity groups, we've got women's networks that just cover a plethora of different things. And what's really inspiring is that is also opening the door for other people to say, oh, actually, I'd like to build a network around this. And you can feel the shift in the room with people's confidence when they have those groups to lean on, when they have those people to lean on. Suddenly it becomes taboo to talk yourself down. Actually, we're talking you up, and we want to talk each other up. And that's okay. And it's very normalized. And that's what I'm finding. And the strength of those networks is huge. And the way that we can hold each other up without it being arrogant, and more sort of feeding each other into, listen, just say it, be in the room, advocate for each other, advocate for other people, regardless of what that looks like. That's really building up that allyship picture to us. And that is through IAmRemarkable that lots of people are getting that message. So for me, I suppose my lesson 10 years on from that initial thought of, actually it's down to the individual, is that it's not a side hustle, it's not a side activity. We're not just going to do it as an extra. Actually, it's fundamental to moving forward and progressing, that we hold each other up and that we hold ourselves up. So yeah, that's my learning.
Well done. Well done. Thank you. Pritha?
I'm really overwhelmed because, Brooke, you said exactly what I was going to say, except that I found a term for it, and I didn't know 10 years back that this could be so powerful. We call it sisterhood. I'm not the originator. Somebody else told me this. It's amazing that I find how women networks, women groups are supporting the cause. And to us, it's very, very powerful. So in two instances, one is at the institute that I head, the Center for Gender Equality and Inclusive Leadership. We have one of the largest network of women, not necessarily only women, but for the cause of equality. We call it, Excel for Women. And they show up for whether it is an individual, problem, or it is a group. This thing, it's a transgender rights. It's about women not getting positions at CXO levels. It's about any new, policy or scheme that needs to be talked about, or it's a collective decision. And at the level which I largely work with low and middle income, we used IAmRemarkable sessions with, it's one of our, most inspiring parts of our program. We help women to scale and set up their businesses. And we use this we do it in Hindi, by the way, and we use this to talk about how not only are they remarkable, but at the end of it, the conversation then shifts to how women can support kind of each other. And these are all women doing very small businesses, nano businesses. So somebody's input becomes somebody's output, and somebody supports in helping market something, and somebody supports in probably looking after the household while she's away, to the bank to get a loan or whatever. But this incredible power of women coming together to support. So sisterhood, very, very strong. This is something I didn't know 10 years back, but very powerful.
Incredible. Incredible. I want to come to India and see your communities, Pritha. I'm really looking forward to that. Clara?
Yes, actually, to be honest, like you both said what I was also thinking about, community, of course, but I'm not surprised that we are so aligned, of course. So I think 10 years ago, previously to funding TEDxBarcelona Women, I had this thought somehow, because I think because we all work and live in this society, that it's very individualistic, that if you want to make something happen, you have to do it yourself in order to do it faster or more efficiently or make sure it happens. Or at least a big part of me thought this. But then I created projects that had a huge component of community, and most of them were actually focused on women. For example, TEDxBarcelona Women, but also the first network of female business angels in Spain that was designed to teach women about investment and also to foster female entrepreneurship, more indirectly. But also other projects regarding building learning ecosystems in which women have a huge part as well. And it's something that I integrate in my programs because I feel it really makes a difference when you create this community component, because oftentimes we feel alone in our challenges and we isolate ourselves, or we don't share things, we feel ashamed of them, or we don't give permission to ourselves to do X or to be X. And when you are part of a community that is like-minded, that it's aligned, that inspires you and energizes you, something shifts and gets unlocked. And, all of a sudden things that it will take you a lot of time to unlock, or maybe you will never do them, it gets so much easier. Someone tells you X or connects you with someone else, or something happens that inspires you, and it creates movement and momentum. So I think, it really matters to belong to communities, to create communities, to share communities. So I think it really, sisterhood and sorority, it really makes a difference in your life and in your career.
Well done. And IAmRemarkable is a remarkable community to belong to for women and men. And we're a global community, and we have so many stories of facilitators even moving companies, moving countries. And I had this story, it was 2 years ago. I think one of our facilitators moved from Europe to the US, and her first connections she didn't know anyone there. And her first connections were other IAmRemarkable facilitators she didn't even know, but they just connected and went out for coffee. And it was the first people she actually met on the ground. It was incredible. And I'm sure that you can find different communities all around you at work or outside of work. So definitely well done. Jordana, did you want to input anything?
Yeah, so I'm gonna get real here because there's been a lot of like sunshine, and I agree 100% on community. And it's interesting because in the experiences that I've had, both within organizations and helping other leaders across organizations, I find that women helping women can either be your biggest advantage, or it could be something that holds you back. I tend to see that sometimes there are two groups of women. There are women who go, it was hard for me, and because it was hard for me, you have to walk the same hard path that I did because I had to earn everything. Or because it was hard for me, I want to make it easier for everybody behind me to have a simpler journey. I'm going to move the brambles out of the way. I wish we were in the world that wasn't true, but I do think it happens a lot. And while you can't change what the past has done, or what a leader has or hasn't done for you, what I would encourage everybody is, everybody who is in this call, in this group, you are a leader in some way, shape, or form, whether it's just leading your own life, it's your family, your community, a team, etc. Make it easier for the people following you. Don't make them follow the same burdens that you did. And when we open those doors to community, when we remove those obstacles, the world is just richer for it.
It's a good point, and it actually brings me to our next point, which is the paid forward. So we really, I think I'll ask all of you and all of our listeners and all of the IAmRemarkable community, which is what it is to pay it forward. So whatever has been given to you, whatever magic, whatever goodness, whatever door that was open to you, we ask you that you pay it forward. And I wanted to ask you, not everyone's going to answer this question, but let's see who wants to answer this one. If you can give a challenge to our listeners, one thing that they could do to pay it forward this year, what would it be? Jordana.
All right, I'm actually going to say pay it circle. And by that, I mean, if there is somebody you believe in and you see a strength in them, tell them. Don't assume that they know. Get specific. And likewise, here's where the circle comes in. If there was somebody that believed in you, that saw a strength in you, that enabled you to be where you are today, reach back out to them and tell them. Don't assume that they know that they helped you.
Great. Pritha?
So, I suddenly thought of Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa would smile at the policeman on the street. There was no reason for her to smile, but she would smile. And I would say that, go out of your way when you're checking out at the counter, the cash clerk, whether you're filling gas and the gas attendant, whether it's the janitor in your school, whether it is the lift man at your building, smile genuinely and ask how's your day going. So if that's one thing, that do not do that as just a routine thing. Ask, and then go out and see what you can do. I would say find 5 people, in the next year, if it's a challenge for a year, that you are actually changing their life. Listen to that story. Stop, smile, and ask.
Thank you, Pritha. Such a true as we go back. And I think this is kind of comes from all of your answers. Just see the people in front of you, no matter who they are or where they come from. Thank you so much. Brooke?
Hold on. Oh, good. I'm off mute. Right. So mine is, and it sort of sings to your point a bit, Jordana, and a bit to yours, Pritha, if I'm honest, is that my pay it forward is tell people what they're good at, but don't be picky about who you tell. So I like to see myself as, I think I'm brilliant, I think I'm funny, I think I'm great fun to be around. The reality of that is I talk a lot and my brain's wired that I can be a bit all over the place. So I'm not everyone's cup of tea. That's okay. But there are people that are not my cup of tea, and that's okay again. But I'm still gonna, if I see something in you that I think is worth telling you, I'm going to tell, unless you're really mean to me and I can't be within a meter of you, I'm going to tell you, and at the right opportunity. And very quick example, I'm part of a parent group because I have to be, because otherwise I don't know what's going on with my kids. And and there's a lady, she's very lovely, but she's not my cup of tea. I'm not hers. She drives me insane on the group chat. And she turned up on Saturday to the coffee morning with all these amazing baked pancakes while I threw food that I'd picked up at the shop on the way. And the point being that there's lots of things her and I wouldn't agree on. However, I respect her for turning up and showing up for us as a parent group. So I tell her, because I'm not going to pick and choose who you are based on my bias, because you might not like me and I still need to hear what you think of me occasionally. So pay it forward, but don't pick and choose. Just pay it forward when it's needed.
Well said. Thank you, Brooke. And now we really want to leave time for all of your remarkable questions from the audience. So we're going to move to our last question that we ask all of our guests in all of our talks. And that is my favorite question in the world. And that is, what makes you remarkable? So Clara, we're going to start with you. We have a rule for this question. So you have to start your answer with, I am remarkable because. Don't put the word think in there. So you're going to say think. I'm going to buzz you out and you're going to need to start over. So it has to start with I'm remarkable because, and it has to be a factual achievement. So we always say it's not bragging if it's based on facts. So let's hear your I'm remarkable statements, Clara.
Amazing. So I am remarkable because I empower thousands of leaders from all over the world to create cultures that are diverse, that are inclusive, and that are healthy, that promote balance, where everybody can be exactly who they are, do not have to fake they're someone else, and they can learn, they can fail, they can innovate, and they can take care of themselves sustainably.
Remarkable. Thank you very much for sharing. Pritha.
Remarkable because directly or indirectly, I have helped over 100,000 women become economically empowered.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. Jordana.
I am remarkable because more than 350,000 people have been boosted by my TED Talk, my TEDx talk, to help them lead themselves and others better through uncertainty. And I'm going to keep that number going.
Amazing. Incredible. And we're going to pop it in the chat so all of our viewers can see that as well. Brooke.
I am remarkable because I created, alongside my wonderful job share, Louise Crawford, a global allyship toolkit that was produced by the UN and has been circulated across the world and is most recently being translated into Japanese. And that's going to help organisations really move forward with their male allyship journey and increase more space for more women and more representation.
Incredible. Such remarkable women on this call. And I wish we could do it in person. That would be maybe next time we aim to do one panel in person. Alrighty, so we have great questions. Let's see our first question from the audience, from Chris Eugenio, who is actually our facilitator, IAmRemarkable facilitator from the Philippines. So, what challenges for women in your region or field still persist today, and how are you working to overcome them? Who wants to take that one? Pritha. Yeah, I was going to say. Love to hear you.
Yeah, because so the biggest problem is honestly not so much that women do not have the capability, and my work is largely with women, but there are social, cultural norms against what jobs they can do, what kind of careers are possible, what's your role. So there is a set pattern. And while a lot has changed, there's still a lot that needs to be done. And what we find is, and at least in the work, is it's sometimes it's regressing. It's like, it's like now somewhat of a fashion to say, okay, you know what, I like getting married and keeping house and looking after my kids. Even educated women, I find at times, are kind of doing that because there's so much of the messaging around. So to figure out how much is it really their authentic self, and something Jordana said, and something that is being forced. So that's a challenge, and that we will have to overcome with a lot more authentic conversations, awareness, helping them see what their real aspiration is.
Great. Let's see our next question. All right. So what are one or two achievable actions we can all take immediately to better support other women in our lives? #sisterhood. Clara.
I will take this opportunity to launch my challenge, which was about making room actually for the women in our life. So I would, maybe it's something that we can all do, that it's actually free and easy to do. And it only brings, beauty and depth of relationships to our lives and careers, is to use our opportunities, our networks, our time, our talents to create room publicly, because it's easier, let's say, to praise the women that we admire, or the people that we admire privately, but it has way more impact if we do it loudly and boldly. So I would imagine, take 10 women in your life that you admire, that you respect, that you love their work, their talents, or women are people, but I think it has way more impact if we do it on women particularly. So I'm going to push for that. And then just say it publicly, maybe on LinkedIn, dedicate them a post about what you love about them, their work, their talents. Maybe do a connection with someone they would like to be connected with, or they would like to work with, recommend their work, show their work. So I think, we have this really big opportunity and we don't use it enough. And when we do it, it's so beautiful and impactful, and it comes back in things, in ways that are unexpected. So just do it.
Amazing. Just make room and shout out. And, I think one of the important rules you learn as a manager is you give criticism in private, but you give praise in public. So make sure that you give praise in public. Very much connect to this message, and take that as your second piece of homework from this call. Let's hear the next question. What would you tell your 20-year-old self, and what would you want your 80-year-old self to say to you today? Love this question. We're going to open it up. Jordana, I think you wanted to take that one.
Yeah. I would tell my 20-year-old self, you are good enough, more than good enough. And the path that you think you're going to walk is going to be completely different than anything that you're going to do. But I promise you, it's going to be rich and even better than you can imagine. And what I would want my 80-year-old self to say is, the world is a better place because you were in it.
Wow. Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I feel like this is a question for all of you, so I want to hear all of your answers. Brooke.
There. Too scared to click it first in case I mess it up. To my 80-year-old self, I'll go backwards just because I need to think like that. I'm closer to the 80. To my 80-year-old self, I think they will say, I know they will say, you did a good job, even when you weren't sure that you were. And I think, oh my goodness, I need to stop that. I probably need another session. And to my 20-year-old self, don't stop doing it because of the expression on somebody else's face. Keep doing it because of how it makes you feel.
Well done. Good messages. Pritha?
So to my 20-year-old self, I would say you could have started your dream much earlier. And I'm talking about moving into the development sector and not so late. To my 80-year-old self, what I would say today, you know what? And I think I echo what you have said, that it's been a wonderful ride and I have no regrets.
Nice one. Thank you. Clara?
Yes, I think I would tell my 20-year-old self to follow their curiosities, because I think there are lots of breakthroughs throughout our life, and we are constantly changing and exploring and transforming. And I think a key to do that is to learn to be connected to yourself and to follow any curiosity and any passion that arises, without judgment, and then see where it goes and where it leads you. And sometimes it leads you to a different career, to a different country, to a different person. And I think that's very beautiful. And I would like my 80-year-old self to tell me, to remind me that to always give myself the permission to change, to explore, to create, and to feel anything and to say anything. Because I think sometimes we forget it, and it's a good reminder to always have there.
Sorry, I muted. There was a bit of noise here. Think about everything you thought about saying to your 80-year-old self and make sure that you implement. I think that's the biggest tip we can do for ourselves now. So our last question from the audience, how do you handle the tension between humility and visibility in global cultures? Who wants to take that one? It's a big one. Jordana?
I think about this a lot with leaders, and I talk about this a lot with leaders. And one of the things that keeps coming up for me is that tension exists. And it's not a tension you're ever going to solve for. It's not an either or. It's a both and. How do you hold that tension taut so it's not pulling you in one direction or another? You can be visible and you can be humble. Humble means acknowledging that you don't know everything, being curious about other people's perspectives, and visibly sharing that, visibly sharing what you learn, visibly sharing the mistakes that you've made so that other people can learn. But if you let humility take over the visibility and not be visible, the world's going to miss out on what you have to provide. And if you let the visibility take over the humility, then you're not going to make the world a better place.
Thank you very much. All right, that was all of our questions. But before we wrap up, we wanted to share with our audience a few final messages. So one thing that we wanted to ask all of our listeners here is to support IAmRemarkable and Remarkability. As we've mentioned with you in the beginning of the call, Remarkability is a nonprofit, and we rely on your donations to continue this incredible work. And all of our workshops are free for all of our participants, because we want to make sure that they're accessible for everyone. So even the price of a coffee is really going a long way. It costs us around $5 to reach a participant. So if that's one thing you can do today to pay it forward, is to make a $5 or $10 donation in this QR code, we would really appreciate that. So that was number one. And we still have workshops that are happening throughout March with our top facilitators, our gold and platinum and diamond facilitators. So if you want to join an online workshop, you can do that through the link. If you can't do it this month, our facilitators throughout the world offer online and in-person workshops, and you can find all of those through our website, which is IAmRemarkable.org. You can see it on the screen. I want to say a huge thank you to our panelists here, Pritha, Jordana, Clara, and Brooke. Thank you so much for making the time. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your tips. And you are making the world a better place. And it's not just your 80-year-old self. You are doing it today with every person that you interact with every action that you do. So keep it up. Thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you to all of our facilitators. Thank you to all of our corporate sponsors and supporters. Keep it up and stay remarkable, and have a wonderful rest of the day.